Story 1. If you are an empath, calm down. You are not special. Being an empath is not uncommon. It used to be the default setting. Story 2. And I turned out just fine because you lucked out, Gramps. How many of your peers did not roll so high? And how many friends did you lose much earlier than you should have? Story 3. You're inspirational or you deserve this. As a disabled person, being told this based solely on my disability is belittling and makes me quietly seethe. I have never had anyone say it who was not trying to be nice, but it feels like they mean that what I do or the effort I put in does not matter, that the only reason I receive praise is because I am disabled. It implies that any recognition is not for my actions but for my genetics, something I cannot control. Story 4. The correct word is converse. Story 5. It's giving. Take their own life. I love that for you. Story 6. People trying to sell their vintage stuff on the internet are not selling vintage items. They are just selling old belongings. Story 7. People often say you must have children because it is human nature. The human race will be fine if I do not have children. For every one person like me, there are about 3 friends who are starting families or planning to. There is no need to harass child-free people. Story 8. Cry about it. Oh, I'll give you something to cry about. Story 9. Could have, would have, should have. I automatically assume you're an idiot. You should have paid more attention in school. Story 10. With all due respect. Basically a warning label that disrespect is loading. Story 11. I saw it on TikTok. As a nurse, this statement pisses me off. Story 12. The fact of the matter is that they then spew a line of nonsense. Story 13. I am just brutally honest. Learn to take a joke. That is so insert zodiac sign here of you. Females. This is sending me. I learned it on TikTok. It is not that deep. Story 14. I have obsessive-compulsive disorder. Everything must be in the right drawer and labeled with the correct color stationery. My room can be a mess, but if someone removes a bookmark from 5 years ago, I break down. And if I don't perform this compulsion correctly, I fear everyone I love will die. But please explain how your jars of pasta and Oreos meet the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders criteria. Story 15. Her eyes were brown like chocolate. I do not know who started the trend of comparing eyes to food in stories, but I want reparations. Story 16. Him and I's wedding. 1. Him is an object pronoun, not a subject pronoun, and it is not possessive. 2. I's is not a word. The possessive pronoun is my. 3. The sentence should read, his and my wedding, or better, our wedding. Story 17. The phrases "it is what it is" and "everything happens for a reason" literally make me want to rip my hair out laughing out loud. Can we not just acknowledge that things suck sometimes? Story 18. Whole nother, as in that's a whole nother problem. I catch myself saying it all the time, by the way. Story 19. I am so lucky to work with all of these amazing humans. Shut the fuck up. Story 20. I have 2. That's so stinking cute. I've been in a funk. Story 21. Any appeal to virtue or status before a statement is misplaced, especially when it is irrelevant. I would be interested in your opinion on the Norman invasion of 1066, ma'am, but I am not sure how bringing a gay black woman into the conversation is relevant. Story 22. When the right tries to shut an argument down by saying, the left doesn't even know what a woman is. It shows the person behind this line is a lost cause with no brain cells. Story 23. I am not sure why, but I cannot stand the question. Am I cooked? Story 24. Family is everything. While family can be a vital support in life, too much proximity can become overwhelming. Story 25. I could care less. This means that you still care. Some people correct that to, I couldn't care less. That version implies zero care and that it is not possible to care any less. Story 26. Regardless. I hate that word. A boss I once had used it in every sentence, and he thought he was intelligent and educated. He was anything but. Story 27. The word literally is most often used when it is not. Story 28. Yeen is another made-up slang term for you even. I stop the conversation there and walk away. Story 29. Anyone who uses "I love that for you" comes across as insulting. Story 30. Tell me you are something without telling me you are something. However, I am not screaming internally about it. I just think it is annoying. Story 31. The Bible, the Quran, or the speaker's preferred fairy tale book says that. Story 32. When you tell someone something that is true and they respond with facts. Story 33. Using the words unilive or grape in real-life conversations. I understand having to censor them online within reason, but when that makes its way into your vocabulary and you speak it aloud, it really diminishes the true meaning of those terms. I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting, but it makes me feel like they are being turned into a joke. Story 34. Do your own research. No, I will leave that to the best and brightest. It is cute to hear that you think watching some YouTube videos is research. Story 35. I could not care less. Story 36. Woke used in a negative way. You are so woke and go broke, and so on. It is always the same type of people who use it, the ones you would not trust with your children. Story 37. Anyone who unironically complains about anything being woke or who says let me ask chat generative pre-trained transformer. Story 38. That is just who I am, or using a zodiac sign as an excuse for their shitty behavior. Story 39. If I had a nickel for every time blank happened, I would be rich, but it is strange that it happened twice. I do not know whether people think they are being funny when they say it or whether they say it because others do. It drives me crazy even more than the phrase "this is the way" does. Story 40. Whenever someone says a line from an anime or a cartoon. Story 41. When people say especially or espresso, a whole other, all of a sudden, regardless, or 3 anti-meridium, the anti-meridium already implies morning. It makes me want to punch through the drywall. Story 42. You can tell this picture is legitimate because Photoshop did not exist at the time. Story 43. Hi, have you had your water tested yet? Just have faith. Try not to think about it. Be positive. Can you set up the meeting or call? Story 44. Over-exaggerate is redundant. Use exaggerate. It is an exemplary tautology in English textbooks. Story 45. Anytime a woman says, "My energy. I need to heal. I need to find myself. I want to live my best life. My truth." These are huge red flags. Story 46. It is a present to be present. This was said by my Generation Z yoga instructor. Story 47. My 85-year-old father told me that I should not believe everything on the internet. For reference, when he got his iPhone, he could not do a single thing with it without assistance. Story 48. When people say I have something for sale, it seems to be a United States thing for some reason. I do not understand why the word sell is used in place of sale, and I hate it. Story 49. I genuinely despise the word fugly. It irritates me so much. Story 50. Timebox it instead of schedule it. Revise instead of review. Much of a muchness instead of unimportant. Story 51. I am a good person. Also, telling someone to shut up casually is understandable, but it is a bit too sharp, laugh out loud. Story 52. In my language, the blandest reality television personality will say on any occasion that they are quelqu'un de vrai, someone genuine. They also find any occasion to say, on latch rein, we don't give up. I go out of my way to avoid interacting with them, and when forced to, I actively mock them when they use those phrases. Story 53. That's my obsessive-compulsive disorder acting up. Includes similar variants used when a person explains why they prefer an organized desk or dislikes crooked paintings. Story 54. How it looks. The word like is redundant. Story 55. We are family. We cannot receive a blood transfusion. That is it. Story 56. Husband. Imaginary sky daddy. Using animal as an insult. Saying issues instead of problems. Story 57. When I was your age. Could I speak to the manager? Story 58. I will give you $1 million if you roll your eyes and scream internally. Story 59. I used to enjoy being chewed out. The person would sit there and say, I specifically want to tell you this. Okay, you're sitting here telling me that you're superior to me, and you don't know the difference between pacifically and specifically? That'll get an eye roll every damn time. Story 60. Anything about thanking Jesus, saying Jesus loves you, or anything else from that old fairy tale. At what point does a novel turn into a religion? I have nothing against religious people, but I strongly disagree with religion. Story 61. Well, according to Occam's razor, the speaker offers an overly reductive misunderstanding of the principle and claims it proves they are right. Story 62. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Fuck you. Story 63. Is this entire community made up of bots? This question is asked 3 times per week. All the popular posts are reposts. What is going on with Reddit? Story 64. Politics have not been genuine since the 1950s. They are controlled by money. Do not say it was this political party or that one. Political parties no longer exist and money controls everything. Story 65. Icon or iconic, especially when used for relatively mundane achievements. Story 66. Yap, crash out, una live, neurospasy. I keep hearing people say words that became popular on TikTok in real life. I am not saying I have never used them, but it annoys me. Story 67. Very unique. There are no degrees of uniqueness. It is binary. Story 68. A covert narcissist, cluster B. I will die on this hill. I don't like the overuse of clinical psychological terms in rants because it sounds dishonest and is something many people parrot after hearing the terminology thousands of times in TikTok reels full of misinformation. Why not describe it with other words? For example, my ex behaved differently behind closed doors but was nice in public. Use whatever phrase or analogy works for you instead of armchair diagnosing someone. I am not defending them, but an asshole can still be an asshole without a diagnosis. Story 69. Tell me without telling me. Why hasn't that one died out? Story 70. If you know. Fur baby. Dick. Story 71. Don't yuck my yum. It means do not express an opinion that is counter to mine and is often used to tell people that their opinion matters less than yours. Story 72. I will answer on behalf of my mother, who is not on Reddit. She read 50 Shades of Grey and now has a visual reaction to the word palpable and whenever lips are described as a thin line. I have taken that as a signal that I should not read the book because of the repetitive phrasing which we both dislike. Story 73. I'm blessed. It is usually spoken when the blessee is from a place of privilege. Story 74. Any variation of I have got this likely means that if you are saying it, you probably do not. Story 75. I know where you are coming from or I know what you are talking about. But whatever they say ignores what you said before. Story 76. When your dad told you during a car trip to turn off that phone and look outside. Story 77. Let us fucking go. It makes every situation sound like a hype beast circle jerk. Story 78. I am already full of rage when my name is called more than 3 times in 30 seconds. You lie down, people notice, and problems arise out of thin air. Story 79. Woke ideology is a long way of saying I hate this thing on a superficial level. Story 80. Criminally underrated. Having a different opinion from your own is not a bad thing and is far from a legal matter. Story 81. Lately on Reddit, people often say the phrase, and it is not even close, as if that gives any validity or weight to an argument. Story 82. I am not X, but, yes you are, but go on. I guess. Story 83. Main Isa Haihun. This is me, I'm like this. It indirectly brags about bad behavior and expects others to accept it or find it cute. Story 84. My brother in Christ. It was funny the first 100 times I saw it. Now it just makes me disregard whatever the person is saying, even if I completely agree. Story 85. You just have to do what I say, for example your boss, parents, or any authority figure. Story 86. What can I do for you? Story 87. Just saying. I know you did because I literally heard you say it. The announcement does not make your preceding comment any less offensive or passive-aggressive. Story 88. My favorite word is technically. You may be right, but you are still wrong. The old idea that daddy longlegs are poisonous but cannot bite you is nonsense. Story 89. We should listen to opposing viewpoints and sometimes agree to disagree, but not when the issue involves genocide, slavery, or the rise of a fascist state. At some point, right is right and wrong is wrong, and no one deserves to be subjected to deliberate chaos and destruction. Story 90. Using the word folks at work to refer to others is inappropriate. We are not hobbits. We are people. If I hear the term writ large again, I am going to puke. Story 91. When someone has done you wrong and then cries, it irritates the hell out of me. If I'm not crying, why are you? Story 92. Amazing human. For fuck's sake, I can almost comprehend how people felt it was offensive to be called great guy or great gal if they believed they were the other or neither. But I was happy with great person. I have recently adopted magnificent mammal. Story 93. Small to medium service businesses that call themselves one-stop shops. Story 94. I love you to the moon and back. My mom always said that to my children, and it felt fake and forced. Story 95. The word whilst has me rolling my eyes and gritting my teeth. I hate that word. It is obsolete and pretentious. Story 96. I'm a girl's girl. It's my experience that this statement sometimes comes from women who will cheer other women on to their detriment. You do not have to co-sign your friend's bad choices to be a girl's girl. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a friend is say, hey, I love you. I will help you get through this. But this pattern is harming you. Story 97. Fresh start. People act like they aren't bringing themselves along. Story 98. Anyone who adds the completely unnecessary, in any way, shape, or form, to the end of their self-pontification is usually overly fond of the sound of their own voice and heavily swayed by confirmation bias. This says more about my feelings toward those types of people than about a hatred of the phrase. Story 99. Hate the sin, love the sinner. Having a fundamentalist father, I heard this far too many times while growing up. Story 100. When your cancer is in remission, people say, oh, so you're back to normal? What the heck? Story 101. I did my own research. That might be true, but research is a skill, and I do not think you possess it. Story 102. That's not a reason. It's just an excuse. God, even typing it out raised my blood pressure. Story 103. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. The arrogance of this statement makes my brain hurt. Story 104. My mom used to say, up and at 'em, when she woke me up for school, and now it makes me nauseous. Story 105. You do you. Carpe diem, in the gross misinterpretation promoted by Dead Poets Society. You only live once. Literally every pseudo-profound, self-serving excuse to act disrespectfully under the guise of a philosophical revelation. No, Caitlin. Turning up to a job interview dressed as your favorite anime character is not you expressing yourself. It shows immaturity and self-centeredness. The same goes for Skylexander expecting people to tolerate their delusional ideas or to cater to every whim just because you think they should. There is a time and place for everything, and sometimes you do not get to choose. Society has rules, and it is reasonable to follow at least the most basic ones unless the goal is anarchy. Story 106. Why haven't you been talking? Story 107. The words ubiquitous and hence make me cringe when I hear them. Story 108. I allowed you to do this. Every time I hear this, I will have to remind myself that killing a person is a crime. Story 109. They claim it's just their opinion and that they are allowed to voice it as freedom of speech, while their opinion is racist, homophobic, misogynistic, evil, and inhumane nonsense. Story 110. Media literacy, declining reading habits, dopamine addiction, digital detox, organic food, and woke culture. Story 111. When someone says, well, I just have to trust that it's all part of God's plan. If you're faithful and believe that, good for you. But I've also heard that God helps those who help themselves. And for you to just throw your hands up and say, God will put me where he wants me to be. Feels like a cop-out to me. Roll up your sleeves and get moving. Stop expecting help from nowhere. Maybe help will come in time and maybe it won't, but it's better than sitting around waiting for a miracle. Story 112. A stupid manager I once knew always said this when he did not want to deal with confrontation. It is what it is. His name was Dave. Do not be like Dave. Story 113. What are your cheapest cigarettes? They are not going to buy anything. They just want to ask for 16 different prices and leave like a stockbroker. Story 114. When I ask someone how they're doing and they say, living the dream. Story 115. Using the words female and men in the same sentence does not make them equivalent. The terms male and female refer to both humans and animals. Story 116. These are just overused on Reddit. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Story 117. She accused him of domestic violence or sexual assault, but he would never do that. Story 118. Use female or male when referring to a human. If a suitable synonym exists, do not use it. Story 119. I like being alone. Yeah, me too. I'm an introvert who likes to be alone, but sometimes it gets lonely and I would prefer some company or at least someone to talk to. Right? Watch what you eat, or that has too much sugar or flour. I live in a Spanish household, by the way, and I'm a guy. What am I supposed to eat, air? That haircut looks okay, my Mexican grandmother says. Okay, and this is my hair. Don't drink or use substances or you will end up like your uncle and aunt who are alcoholics. I'm 21, an adult who can make his own decisions. I drink and smoke in moderation occasionally, not all the time. Let me live my life. I'm still young. Be more open-minded with your feelings. Unless you're a close friend who has seen me at my worst and helped me, I won't be open. If you're not, please leave me alone. There's a reason I have extremely high trust issues and keep a small, solid circle of people I trust, people who wouldn't say something stupid. I don't even trust my family, because once a Mexican family gets wind of what's going on with you, it's a goddamn gossip day for the TIAs who have nothing better to do but be toxic and talk about men needing to be strong. Mental health is just a myth. Men are meant to be strong. I get it. We were raised in an era where men were supposed to be strong, handle a lot, and not cry. But we have feelings too. We are ridiculed around the clock. We work hard even though you say we don't. There is a reason some of us become addicted to alcohol or smoking. We need something to take the edge off because people don't believe in mental health and tell us to just get back to work. It's 2025. Things are changing. Story 120. Said by parents. Well, I think that... Okay, so your child's thoughts mean nothing as soon as you've decided something? Story 121. In any context, but especially in a news bulletin, the President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump, said, cannot deal with him anymore. I never had much patience for him and his endless cameos as himself, portraying a wealthy man in movies and television in the 1990s, and now I have no patience for his authoritarian governance of the United States. Thank God I do not have to live there. Story 122. Everything happens for a reason. No, some things happen for no reason at all. Story 123. Sorry you feel that way. Sorry if... Story 124. When people say, you must always have a positive attitude no matter what, I think you should try to maintain a positive attitude. However, some situations are genuinely bad, and there is no point in pretending everything is fine when it is not. There is a major difference between constant negativity and a realistic assessment of your situation. Story 125. Using yous as the plural of you makes my soul flinch when I hear it. Story 126. Let us get into it. That being said, side hustle. Spilling the tea. Story 127. All the politically charged words people throw around like gunslingers in the Wild West. Story 128. I am an alpha, sigma, or whatever mansphere terminology of the day. Please stop. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.